Good evening, everybody. Just waiting to go live here on both YouTube and Facebook. Looks like we are live there now. So good evening, everyone. Just wanted to keep you up to date on what the opportunities are for maybe seeing some possible aurora in our area. I do hate to suspect that aurora are coming, and I try to pay as much attention as I can to the facts that are introduced to us. But at the moment right now, it doesn't look like it's going to happen just because of the weather. I'm going to get into that in just a second. Reasons why, I guess, why I believe that. But anyway, we should take a look, first of all, at what the aurora are all about. Just a second. I'm not live yet on Facebook. Hang on. Hey, Maggie. Just trying to go live on Facebook here for a second. A little bit slower with Facebook Live. Okay, we'll go back to it again. We're going to take a look at what the opportunities are for maybe seeing some aurora over the next few days. We did have a look at them back in October, and the levels, the KP levels and the G2 levels were about the same back then. But I just want to talk a little bit about what I'm expecting, or what we can expect over the next 48 hours, I guess, from the data that I've been able to pick up so far. This is a picture from Brad Perry back 50 kilometers north of Fredericton back in October of last year. Now, this is captured with a photo with a camera, and this is about what you might see at the levels that we're talking about. So let's take a look at what's going on here. Well, we're into what we call solar cycle 25 right now. So this is a 25th solar cycle that has been recorded, but we're looking at about an 11-year cycle. So the sun goes through an 11-year cycle. It's very quiet at times. It gets very active with a number of sunspots, and then drops back off again to a quiet point every 11 years. Where are we right now? Well, we're into solar cycle 25, but we're just getting started at it. And here we can see where we are sitting right now. And these little dots are the number of sunspots that have occurred so far in the cycle. The sunspot number is a number that isn't exactly what we might see with a pair of binoculars just looking up at the sun with special filters on them, of course. But it's more of a number that's calculated to tell us how many sunspots there really are on the sun's surface all the way around. So that sunspot number can move a lot higher than what we might expect. But anyway, what's happening right now is that we are climbing up out of the minimum part of our cycle and moving towards our maximum, which should be coming up around 2025. So we've got a little ways to go. But what that means is that in our solar cycle, we're getting an increasing number of sunspots lately, and a lot more solar flares lately as well. So this is all good for those who enjoy watching aurora. So there's about where we are right now so far in the cycle. If we move on from that, these are some of the things that I've been placing up on my site. Here's a couple of the forecasts, and these numbers are what are kind of important. When we see these red numbers here, this is what's good for us. And I'm going to explain what these mean here in a second. So there are two scales. There's a G scale, and then there's a KP scale. And we're looking at these numbers here. This is from NOAA, which is the North. I'm going to get to that site here in just a second, the Aurora Forecaster that I pay attention to mostly. Good evening, everybody on Facebook. This is from tonight. So here's the numbers that we want to pay attention to. When we see a KP level of 5 or 6, that's good for us. Or G1 or G2 is great for us as well. Here's some other areas that these are just from different apps that I've downloaded. Let's go see what all this means. Okay, first of all, let's take a look at the sun. What's causing all this interest right now in the aurora? For us locally, here's this giant big sunspot right here, 2936. Now it would take 108 Earths to line up across the face of the sun. So that is about 10 Earths wide, I would say, roughly. And this is the one that's produced all the activity over the last few days. Here's a big one here coming around the corner too, 2939, which is going to be interesting as well. But 2936 is our main feature right now, and it's basically facing back at Earth right now. If it had released an X-class solar flare when it's facing at Earth, it might have been a different story for us. We might have experienced some blackouts and electricity interruptions, that type of thing. So let's take a look ahead. What does all this mean? Well, here's a short video from SOHO, which is a spacecraft that's capturing images from the sun on a constant basis. That circle in the center, of course, is blocking out all of the sun, and all we're seeing is this chromosphere that's around the edge. So we can see this large cloud that was released here just yesterday morning. That's billions of tons of plasma right there, electrically charged particles, and that's what all these flashes are going around it. This is a large solar flare sitting here on the sun. There's another one on this side, prominences, but this is the release that we're talking about, this big one here. So back to our app, and this is an app that I think it's just called Aurora Forecast. On Google Play, it's a few bucks to get to the long-term forecast or longer forecast. But here's our numbers at KP5 and KP6, looking at 8 o'clock tomorrow evening till 11 o'clock, and then from 11 o'clock to midnight, that's the number, from midnight to 2 a.m., and then from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m., and this is local time, and from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. Of course, sun will be up at that time, but these are the categories here that we want to pay the closest attention to. So they're going to arrive tomorrow evening between 8 and 11, but the best part of the show would be from 11 o'clock on. Now, I'm going to talk all about what we see and whether or not we'll actually see them. Here's another app that I look at pretty regularly, Aurora Forecast, and it shows the KP value in the upcoming days. So we're looking at a potential of 6, a KP value of 6 here on Wednesday. I wouldn't pay attention to these ones farther out at the moment. I just want to find out where I am here in my slideshow. Okay, yeah, so I want to go to the next slide, which is going to help explain. This is the one we want to pay attention to. So this is what explains a lot of it right here. Okay, so if we have a G, and G is the strength, G is the NOAA Geomagnetic Storm Index. It goes from a scale of 0 to 5. And KP is the planetary index, which goes from a scale of 0 to 9. So G means the strength of the storm, and the KP is how far south you'll be able to witness it. So here, this inner circle here would be a KP of 3 and a G of 0. The green circle, anything above the green circle, is a KP of 5 and a G of 1. Anything above the yellow circle would be typically a G rated storm of 3 and a KP of 7. So 7 would be covering Nova Scotia, but we're looking at a 6 right now, and these are very unpredictable. There are space weather forecasters, that's what they do. They're looking at this data that's coming in, and we're trying to predict how quickly this cloud is going to arrive at Earth. We know it's coming in our direction. It may give us a glancing blow, or it may impact us head on. And that's going to determine the final number of what our KP value is going to be and what our G value is going to be. Right now they're calling for a G2 type storm, which is a moderate storm, and a KP level of 6 right now. So 6 would put us right between 5 and 7. So somewhere in the middle here. So somewhere around Moncton kind of thing to Fredericton across and up would be your best opportunity, but that doesn't mean that St. John or even areas through Nova Scotia are not going to pick it up. It all depends on what the strength is when it does impact our poles, right? So it's it's not an exact science. It's because it's a plasma cloud heading towards us, and we don't know exactly what result we're going to get until it actually impacts. The same as the weather system approached us the other just a couple of days ago. They were calling for 10 centimeters, then 20, then 50, then 20 again. So it can move all around the place, and predicting aurora is about as difficult as predicting maritime weather. So one of the places that I go to take a look at a lot of this stuff is this site here. Noah, I'm going to bring it up here. I'm going to try to bring up the actual page. I think I just got to do this. Just bear with me, it's just loading up here. So this is the Space Weather Prediction Center page. And in here, it gives us lots of data. So this is the chart that I'm looking at. So this is the current 3-day forecast from NOAA. And these are the guys who plot this stuff for their space weather scientists, and they plot this stuff for companies so that companies who have satellites in orbit, maybe they want to power them down or put them in safe mode for a bit based on the information that these people provide to them. So they're looking at this plasma cloud, they're looking at the sun 24 hours a day. We're seeing what's happening because these clouds can cause so much disruption to us here on Earth that we've actually have space weather forecasters out there now. So they're looking at these numbers. They're saying the greatest observed 3-hour KP over the next past 24 hours was 3, which was below the scale level. Now, the greatest expected 3-hour KP for January 31st to February 2nd is 6. Now, this is not put into our time, so it's put in what they call universal time. So we are 4 hours behind universal time. So if we say, for instance, here we are at February 2nd, a KP of 5 and G1 level storm, that says it's at midnight to 3 o'clock. It's really 8 o'clock to midnight for us. And then here's our 6th level G2 later in the evening, or after midnight, I guess. This is just before sunrise, G2. So this is the one I refer to a lot. You can also go out here to the main page, and here's where we get the data. Geomagnetic storm watches, so now they're calling for it's a watch now, just like we would have an Environment Canada watch or a warning of something coming. Current levels are G1 back on February 3rd later, but a G2 is what we're expecting now for February 2nd. And this is the actual one that we just saw a minute ago there that shows the blast coming up off the surface. This is the sun composite right now. This one here is actually showing us the aurora itself at the moment. So there's the chance of aurora. In the green circle, it's anywhere from 10 to 50%. If it's in the yellow circle, you're from 50 to say 75%. And if this turns red in that area, then you're in the 90% chance of seeing it. So you can go to these at any time. This page is just called swpc.noaa.gov. They keep a very accurate number, and this updates on a regular basis. So tomorrow I'll be putting up another post just to explain a little bit more about where I see the numbers heading. If you do go in tomorrow, you can go to this 3-day forecast again right there. Just go down the page until you find 3-day forecast. That'll give you a 3-day forecast once more. And there is a 30-minute forecast here too, if I can find it. I believe it'll be this one here. You'll see this come up, and when you click on it, it'll give you the 30-minute forecast. What's happening, what they expect over the next 30 minutes. So watch that one as well. But so again, it's swpc.noaa.gov. And 3-day forecast. Now, if you do happen to get lucky and get an opportunity to see something, let's get out of this one here. And from current slide. Okay, and let's go to the next one. Okay, tips to viewing the Northern Lights. I get a lot of questions about it. The best thing I would say was check out the locations on Google Maps first. So download Google Maps, take a look at it, take a look at the satellite shot. Once you put yourself on the street, basically, you'll get a compass that'll pop up, and it'll show you which direction's north. And what you want is something like this. You want a place where you've got a pretty good horizon showing. So, the Northern Lights, so you're going to be looking north, and you don't want a bunch of mountains and trees in your way if you can help it. So find a spot that gives you pretty good view of the Northern Lights if you're looking towards a horizon. So high on a hill looking down at the horizon, or someplace where you've got a pretty good view of the horizon, that's great. Check the Aurora Forecast before you go out. Make sure you check it. Go to one of the Google Play apps or go to that page I just suggested there and check the local forecast, of course, as well. This is a photo back in October from Mary Craig, which she took from St. Andrews, so you can see there is some color there. This may not be visible naked eye. It all depends on what the KP level ends up being, and it depends on what that G level ends up being. It goes from a scale from 0 to 5. Right now they're calling for a G2, and the KP scale of about 6 right now. So if it increases, you got a better chance of seeing it. And the farther north you are, of course, the more likely you are to see them. Now, sometimes when you don't capture them with your eyeball, cameras can do much better. Because we use rods and cones on our eyes, the rods are what we use at nighttime. Rods can't see color, so it's very difficult for us to see color at night. But with the camera, that's different. Cameras are able to capture all the photons and store them on a chip. So some of the camera settings that you might want to consider if you do take out a DSLR camera or even a smartphone, put them on a tripod. Of course, try to get them so that they're not shaking. Use an aperture of f2.8 or the widest that you can on your lens. That opens it up, that lets the most light in. Adjust for an ISO from 3200 to 6400. Set your shutter speed between 1 and 15 seconds. Just sample it, give it a try, take a look at it afterwards. That's the great thing about cameras today is you can actually just take a quick look at what you've just captured. Adjust your white balance down to 3500K if you can. Focus manually on a distant light first. Make sure you're in focus first. Set your general camera settings for northern lights and set a shutter delay of 2 seconds. And then just check your histogram when you're done. If you have a screen that flops out to the side, that's even better. Some of the things that we have going for us right now is the fact that we've got a new moon. So if we were at this phase of the moon cycle, I would say I wouldn't even be concerned about it because this would wash it all out. But here we've got a new moon, and you want to let your eyes dark adapt. The idea is to get away from city lights so that you get a spot where your eyes can dark adapt a bit and you get a better view of the faint dancing on the horizon. And it's not going to be glorious like they see in Alaska. We're talking about something faint on the horizon that you should be able to see naked eye if the G level stays up as high as we are expecting it to be. And here comes the bad news. So I just looked at this before I went live. Oh no. So this is Tuesday's forecast. Of course, it's from Tuesday night into Wednesday. Another snowstorm on its way, folks, hard to say. But this is a St. John forecast, so maybe it's different in your area. And I'm not going to go 100% by that. It does say increasing cloudiness, but that might not happen until after midnight or even in the morning. I do use another program called Astrospheric, which I download, and I use it a lot for telling me what the sky conditions are going to be like that particular time. So I did wind it ahead to 1 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday. And this blue, the dark blue, means that it's clear sky. So this is the transparency or amount of cloud cover, very little cloud cover there. So this is what it's predicting, and I find this one is a lot more accurate than even Environment Canada. So I'm going to take a chance that's what it's going to be, but we'll have a better indication tomorrow when we get a chance to look at the satellite view somewhere around noon or so. But I wish everybody good luck. That's about all I can really say about it. Last time around when we were looking at stuff in October, we did have a few people that sent me some photos. So here's one again from Mary Craig in St. Andrews. So she did get some of an image there. Here's James Cleland from Edmonton, color there. I'm not going to really talk about what causes the aurora. I think most people on here would know where it's coming from, but it is coming from this large plasma cloud anyway, coming from the sun, 160 million kilometers away, traveling through space, and we don't know exactly when it's going to arrive either. That's the other thing. So it could arrive a little bit early, and it could arrive a little bit late. It may give us a glancing blow. It may impact us straight on, and we really don't know until we look at a couple of hours before the impact is supposed to come and look at these KP scales and say, hey, it's going up, or it's staying the same, or it's dropping off. So it could be, these can be a big disappointment, or it can be a huge delight. And we really don't know until that plasma cloud arrives and how it's going to interact with our magnetic field. But it's another shot from Brad Perry, who did another nice job. This is just a photo, so you may not see this with your eyeball, but up around KP7, if we get to a G of 3 and a KP of 7, I say you're going to see it naked eye. So places you want to go, remember, look at a spot, look at Google Maps for your particular location. If I was in St. John, I might look at Dominion Park Beach, which gives me a pretty good view of the north. If or if I was in, say, Quispamsis area, I might head out to Meenan's Cove or Gondola Point, areas where I'm away from the lights, but I've got a half decent view of the north. In your particular area, I would say just take a look at Google Maps and take an aerial view and see about where areas in your area are familiar to you. I mean, make sure that you take a friend along if you're going to go out to someplace dark and all by itself. Uh, Evening sky, I mean, temperature-wise, we're looking at, I think we're looking at, yeah, minus 18. So don't forget that part. Make sure that you take along some warm clothing, bring along a warm drink, bring your flashlight along with you. Try not to look at your phone if you can help it. If you want to get an update on what's happening with the KP level and the Environment Canada forecast before you go, that's great. But once you get out there and you're looking towards the north, don't look at your phone because your pupils will shrink and they take at least 20 minutes to dilate again. So that may be enough time to miss the show completely. So I'm going to keep an eye on this course all night long tonight, and I will be watching for updates in the morning. And I will try to post early morning or by noon at least tomorrow when I get a better feel for some of this other data that's coming into me. I'm going to try to do a little bit more interpretation of what they feel it's going to be. I'm not going to look at the fact that they're calling for cloud at the moment. That can change. So let's just go with the hope that something is going to appear at least. If you do happen to get out and you happen to capture any photos, I'd love to get them. I'd love to be able to share them with everybody else so you can send them into my page. And fingers crossed, I guess everybody, right? We just hope for the best. So I'll post again by noon tomorrow, and I'll bring that same amount of data back to us again, and you can make your own decision from that data. And I'll provide that link again, where to go to get an update on this. So let's hope, fingers crossed, and don't forget. Look, if this doesn't happen this time around, it happened back in October. We had a pretty good display, as we can see here. But the sun is just beginning to come up out of its part of the cycle. We're not even halfway through to the maximum yet of the solar cycle. So we have lots of time left. If I go back and take another look at that sun view there, just bear with me for a sec. We'll take another look at the sun. So there it is. So look at this. I mean, this is a huge grouping of spots. There's more coming around the corner, and the sun has been very busy, very active lately, and we're not even halfway to solar maximum yet. So we've got lots of time, and hopefully this time it'll work out this time. But if it doesn't, we're even getting into the more milder months, right? So perhaps we'll have an opportunity in the spring, or maybe even a nice summer evening. Wouldn't that be great to have a nice show like this in a summer evening? So keep looking up, folks. Tune back in here again at noon tomorrow. I'll provide you with a further update, and then around 5 or 6 o'clock tomorrow night, I'll provide my final update. And let's just hope. Keep fingers crossed. Wishing everybody a good night, and keep looking up, folks.